What's up, everybody? This is Herschel Froome from High School Top 200, and this is the Monday morning meeting. This is the recruiting edition, all right? We're going to talk about recruiting because, for one, it's still really relevant in our schools. It's also something that I talked about, and people got hurt feelings because of it, for whatever reason. Also, it's because it is something that is important and that can change individuals' lives as well, and families as well. There's a lot of reasons for why people are for and against recruiting in New Zealand, or recruiting from, in all sports kind of thing. And it's, I guess, on depending on what side you're on, or depending on what view you take, you pretty much got a hard stance with a for and against. And so, I'm just going to share with you my reasons and why I think recruiting is an important part of this for the students as well, and for kids. Because for me, and when I talk about recruiting, and when I talk about players and guys that come from low decile schools, or guys that have no opportunity, or people that feel like they're stuck, or people that have, or kids that have dreams that they really want to accomplish but kind of don't know how. Recruiting is going to be a massive part in changing that person's life around, I feel like, and I believe, because I've seen it happen, and it's still happening right now for that individual. And from the beginning of this, I've always been on the side of the player. I've never been on the side of rugby, or New Zealand rugby, or New Zealand schools, or rugby alone, or rugby league. Mine has always been about helping the player out. And the reason why it's always just been about helping the player out is because the player only has so long in a rugby career, or even having a chance at a rugby career. They find out early, and I mean early as in 17, 18, how hard it is to become a professional, how difficult it is to be in the right position at the right time to get their shot. And as I've explained, in, I think it was last week or the week before, that you are only in a 3% chance of making it pro, and then a 1 point something percent chance to become an All Black, which is every kid's little dream. But as you get older, and things become more realistic, and you can kind of see the levels that you have to go through to get there, things change, and your thinking of that changes as well. So for me, I'm always in the position of the person themselves, and getting them the best opportunity to at least have a shot at going for their dream. At least a shot. And at least a shot and an opportunity to even try, just to try. My feeling is that you just have to try. As long as you give some kid an opportunity and a try at getting to something, it's appreciated. I've never ever promised someone that if you go to the school, or you get this scholarship, that you're going to become a professional. No. If anyone's promising you that, that guy's an idiot, and your parents should be telling you, let's stay away from this guy. I've never ever promised anybody. And I'm not even promising anyone right now that if you're going to change schools, that everything's going to work out for you. And it doesn't work that way. All I'm saying is that I'm giving you opportunities. I'm going to put you in an opportunity to get your next step from trying to become what you want. You still have to put in the work. Everyone knows that. That's not what I'm saying at all. And even like when I put up my post that everyone had a cry about, was that my post was about my discussion that I was having and questions that I was getting on my IG and also on my Facebook page as well, is that people were asking how do you get recruited and how do you go about it, because people don't know. See, like most people, and this is the scenario that people think, most people think that if you change, like I'm advocating that if you change schools then you're going to become a professional. It's very untrue. It's such a hard, that's such a bad way of looking at it in terms of getting scholarships or moving schools or anything like that. Is like not purely just for the rugby side of it, but also that you're going to make it. That's anyone that's telling you that if you change schools you're going to make it, that's false. That's false, because there's a lot of different things that go into making it, and changing schools is not really just one of them. Okay, that's like a small part of it, if you want. Now there are evidences to show that if you go to a bigger school you have a better chance. That's just an opportunity. It doesn't mean that you're going to get there. It just means that you're in a better position. Now the reason why I say that is that if you look at every single player that's playing in Super Rugby, all of them have come from pretty much big rugby schools. At least all in the top 50. At least all of them, most of them are all in the top 50 in terms of rankings. They all come from big schools like Hamilton and St. Kentigern's and Scots College, and Christchurch Boys have a bunch of them. Christ College have a bunch of them. There's so many of these guys that you can look at that come from Palmy Boys and from Hastings Boys and from Napier Boys and Auckland Grammar. So like, and I'm gonna write this up as well, where I'm gonna go through everybody's rosters, and I'll put the school next to them that they attended when they graduated from high school, next to their name, and you're going to find that all of them are from big schools. And that's not by mistake, but that's why kids want to go to big schools. It's for that reason. That whenever commentators, say their name, like, it's always from a big school. Selectors mostly look at guys from big schools, unless someone is exceptional. And I'm not saying that if you go to another school you don't make it. It's like, of course you can make it. But most of the time, you don't see guys that come out of Cambridge all the time. Now you can look at the Jacobson brothers. He's like, yeah, that's fine, but who else after that? You know what I mean? Who else after that? I mean, that's the reason why kids want to move schools. Now, being recruited is a pretty easy process. Then I'm going to tell you how. First thing you do, and this is kind of what I do with everybody anyway. First thing I do is that I know who the new to schools are. You only get 2 of them. So a new person in school, I know who's in their last year of new to schools. You know who all the year 13s are, so you know, well, that school's got a bunch of gaps, and their new to schools are going to be gone as well, so they're going to have some new to school spots for you. In Auckland, if you're in the Auckland, North Harbour counties area, switching from one school to another school, you have to sit down for 6 weeks. Or if you come from outside in and you've played first 15, you have to sit down for 6 weeks. If you go from Auckland, outside of Auckland, and get recruited to like Hamilton or Wellington or whatever, you don't have to sit out anything. But there's still a new to school rule in those schools, and those spots there's only a few of those spots. So when I look for schools for people, I tell parents and kids that this school has openings, because their year 13s are gone and they've got two more new. They've got one guy that's still there who's a new to school, that they have one more spot. Now every school, you have to apply for them. Once the application is into the school, then the school can call you. This is the information I give. The parent has to contact the school first in any way, and then the school can then talk back. So any of you guys out there that is looking to move schools, that's all you need to do. Apply to the school that you want to go to. When they see your name come through and they've seen that you play rugby, then they can contact you and talk to you. That's all recruiting is knowing the information of where you can go to and how to do it. Now, if you apply to a school, it doesn't mean you have to go there. You can just apply so that the coaches can talk to you. And if you don't like it, you can go, yeah, I didn't think it was what I wanted. I'll just stay at my school. That's fine too. But that's pretty much what the process is knowing where to go to. Knowing who's on that roster, knowing who's going to be coming back. And that's exactly why I put everything into rankings of year 11s, year 12s, and year 13s. So that if you just look at the rankings and you go, oh, well, all those Hastings boys are gone, I know there's some spots there. I'll apply to that school because their open side's going. I guess they have an open side spot left. I'll see if they have a new to school, and that's what you talk about. I don't know what everybody thinks that these like, I don't know, Illuminati exchanges going on somewhere. I don't get what that is. I don't get what that is. Because the other thing is that parents don't know how to do this stuff. They don't know who to ask. And it's not even just rugby reasons. It's not even just rugby, really. It's not just rugby. It's all sports. All sports are doing it. Like that's what I don't understand. It's not just a rugby thing. Sometimes it's an educational thing. Some parents go, I don't like my school because I went there when I was young. I know what that's like, but I don't know how to get them into another school. Now, why can't you give them that opportunity? Why can't you give them an opportunity to leave the school that they're at because they know what it's about? It hasn't worked for my other two sons and my daughter that were there. Why should I leave my other son here if they know it didn't work? If the coaches are toxic, why should you leave your kid there? If your kid is coming home every Saturday and they're losing and he hates it and he's putting everything into it, why not? Why can't you just leave and go to another school? This is the thing that annoys me, is that people just think that this is just rugby. It's like, no, kids have moved for other reasons. They just happen to play rugby and they're good at it. It's like, okay, well, why don't we just use rugby and you can get into that maths program. Or you can get into the science program. Or you can, these guys hold an apprenticeship with that, like, Polytech. And it's like, yeah, we'll just use that to get into that school. Or you can move them away from the troubles that's happening in that area. That's why the Northland kids always move away. That's why Northland parents are always in contact with me, because they fear for their son's future. Because they've already got a friend who's falling off that way, and it's like, oh, shoot, we just can't do it. We just can't let our son get to that point too. And it's an understandable fear too, because it's your kid. Now, all these other people that argue with me about, is just like, you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be this, like, school's about education. It's like, okay. You think school is just about education, right? And they say education is first. Now, I actually don't believe that. I don't believe that education is first in schools, especially when sports is involved. And the reason why I say that is that when you look at sports and what it does for your school, you're going to use that tool to recruit off. For example, and I'll just use Hamilton Boys because I'm right here. Hamilton Boys win in rugby, they win in cricket, they win in rowing, they win in soccer, they're getting a little bit there in basketball. From my understanding, have a really good debate team. Pretty good in hockey, I was told. So, kids from this area look at Hamilton Boys and how much they win, and they want to be a part of that. Now, if your school's a winning school at something, you're going to use that as a tool to get kids to come to your school. You're not going to use your maths program or your science lab or your, you're not using those things because kids don't generally care about that stuff. But if your school is winning all the time, it's like, yeah, I want to rep this crest on my chest as hard as I can because our school wins at stuff. I'm not playing that sport, but we're winning. And you go to a loser sport, you go to a loser school, you guys didn't win anything. No one comes back from an essay competition and go, yeah, bro, our boy, he killed in that essay. He killed in that essay. Bro, he scholared it all up in there. Whoever says that? Whoever says this dude's a scholar? No. You're going to say he smoked that dude on the field. Did you see his three-pointer? Did you see how many goals he saved? That's what they say. They don't lead off with education. So to me, education is not the most important thing to get kids to go to these schools. It's sports. It's what you can offer. Because everyone offers up education. Everyone offers up the same curriculum of education. Sometimes they just don't have the classes. And sometimes kids just want to move for that certain class. I have a daughter who's a drama queen. Likes drama, likes theatre, likes singing and dancing and performing. I'm not going to send her to a school that doesn't have those programs. I'm going to try and find her a school that has those things. Where she can put on plays, where she can put on performances, where she can, every single term she has something to reach that is based around her drama stuff. Because that's what she's interested in. So why wouldn't I, as a parent, move her to schools like that? I have a daughter who's really athletic, and if she ends up loving basketball, because I would love her to love basketball, if she doesn't, I'm going to be gutted, but that's just what she does. But if sports is her thing, and she ends up being a good basketball player, and I can see it by 15, I'm going to be like, oh, okay then, maybe I should send her back to my family in the States. And see if we can get him into an academy. Because that's what she's interested in. As a parent, because I know that she loves it. If she doesn't love it, she loves something else. I'll be like, okay, well, go for whatever she wants, whatever it is she loves. She's always going to get the sports done. Always going to get the school done. But as a parent, you're going to want to put your kids into those situations where those are the things that make them happy. It's not going to be school. Like, maths doesn't make a bunch of kids happy. The majority of kids are not excited about the essays they have to write. It's about being part of a winning team. Now, coaches can be a toxic part of winning of teams. Coaches can be that, and kids are like, man, Dad, I don't like that coach. There's something wrong. He just doesn't like the way that I am. And I don't know. I don't want to be here again next year if he's going to be like this to me. Now, if your son comes up to you or your daughter comes up to you and your daughter says, Dad, he just makes me run all the time. It's like, and I didn't even say anything. It wasn't even me. It's like, but two of us messed up a play, but I'm the one running. Now, if these are occurrences that happen all over again, and she's like year 11, it's like, well, I'm not sending my daughter back there to this dick. But some of you guys who are against recruiting are saying to me that, well, they need to stay there because it's important for their education. If they're not happy, and we know how this is with kids and the anxiety and the mental health that they're going through now, which is so different because of social media, they're not going to have fun at school if their sports is terrible. They're not even going to succeed at that school if their sports is terrible, because that's what all our kids are into, some kind of sport. And it's not called extracurricular. Stop calling it an extracurricular, because it really is not. You're just calling it that because You have to, because you have to put education first. That's the only reason why you call it an extracurriculum. But let's have a look. Let's have a look at this extracurriculum that you guys like to call it, right? We'll take rugby just because we're in rugby. Extracurriculum. You have most big schools will have Monday, sit down and watch the game. Tuesday morning training, Tuesday night training. Wednesday morning training, Wednesday night training. Thursday rest. Friday, watch the game again, talk about what you're doing. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 times that you're going to go into a rugby training. And that's for most of the bigger schools. So they go to training before they go to school. Then they have training after school. Then they go to training before they school. Then they train after school. Then they miss a day of training, but still have some kind of rugby, whether it's like watching film or going through like a meeting or something with this, talking about it. Then you have another run through on Friday, have a talk about it after school, and then you play on the Saturday, which is like mostly sometime or like half the time of travel, depending on how far you travel. And then you rest up on the Sunday, and then on Monday, then you go back to the drawing board of let's watch the game and let's analyze this. This is either before or after school. Now, if this was extracurriculum, just in that 1 week, almost half of that time, like at least 2 or 3 hours of almost every day is taken up of this extracurriculum. Now, when you go to school, you just go to school. But then after school, you're going, no, I've got to go to my rugby thing. Oh, no, our hockey thing, we've got a film session on our hockey. Oh, no, we've got to go and, for our leadership group, for our soccer, we've got to go and have this meeting. Now, if you go to school, you just go to school. And that's the easy part. But then after school, your extracurriculum takes over. Now, if you've got an hour or stuff like that, that's like an hour and a half of training. After training, you, go back to the changing rooms, get changed just to like another half an hour, 45 minutes, travel home, however you get home. By the time you get home, it's like 6:30. Have your dinner, have your shower up, and then whatever time you have to laze around or study, what are you going to most of the time do? Is laze around with your family and just hang out a little bit with your mum and dad and your brothers and sisters, whatever. And if you have, and if you're involved in church, us church people have a lot of church stuff at nights that you have to make as well. My church, we have church stuff in the morning. So some of them, the Mormon boys that are in your guys' teams, some mornings they don't go, and so they'll do their exercise and stuff like that at night. If you have to have a gym session in the morning, or if you have to have a pool session or fitness in the morning for Mormon boys, because Mormon boys or Mormon players, we've got school in the morning, so sometimes they'll miss that out and do that in the afternoon so they can still keep up with what everyone else is doing. Now, all these curricular things, it's not extracurricular from now on. It's not extra. Because it travels into your Saturday. And you know as a parent, even if it's one child, that takes up pretty much 3 or 4 hours of your day. From getting them prepared, getting them ready, getting them lunch, going to the game, making sure after the game that they're taken care of, taking them back home. If they're injured, it takes up however long it takes up. And you still got after functions and all that kind of stuff as well. So this is not extracurricular. Because 1 week, if your son or daughter plays a sport, that's what you fit into now your life. That's not extracurricular. Because somehow, in us as New Zealanders, getting you to training is more important than doing your study. Like, when you get home, you tell them to rest up. Or you tell them to do study, but it's not like that when you got to get into training. When you get into training, you go, hey, get to training, let's go. When they get home, you tell them, go to your room, go study, but you don't check up as they're doing study. They're probably on their phones. Or if they're moving around a bunch, it's like, yeah, they're probably doing a TikTok. But what I'm saying is that, like, we can't call it extracurriculum anymore. Because that's just a week. That's just 1 week. Now, the season goes pretty much from preseason in March, all the way to sevens in December. Then you've got a full season from preseason to about August. In between, you've got a camp or a tour. Then you've got reps in the other break. You've got a tour in one break, a rep in the other break. Carries on for the season, and then you go into sevens from, I guess, September onwards to December. Now, that doesn't sound like extracurriculum to me. And then they offer scholarships on top of that. Like I said before, they use it as recruiting. They use their sports as recruiting. It's not extracurricular. There's also a lot of pressure that goes into winning. That's not extracurriculum then. How is that? I don't understand how you guys can say that education is first when there's all these things that go in just to one sport. It's not first. Who are you lying to? Ideally, that's what it was made for. But it's not. We all know this. Why is everyone lying to themselves and saying it's not important? Because it is important. When your team doesn't win, it is important. It is important to your school that when your team does not win. I'm a firm believer that whatever your sport is in your school, whether it's rugby, rowing, rugby league, basketball, whatever, our school was basketball. If your basketball teams weren't doing good, your school pretty much sucked for a while. Knowing that your school just wasn't doing good. At Church College, if we didn't win nationals for boys and girls, you had a failed season. I'm saying if you didn't win nationals, you had a failed season. If you didn't win the nationals, you had a failed season. I'm not saying if you didn't make it to nationals. I'm not saying if you didn't make it to the top 4. If you didn't win nationals, you had a failed season. Now, schools around the country have this. All the 1A schools up there, if you don't win the 1A championship, you had a failed season. They all know this. If you don't win Super 8 over here, you had a failed season. And it weighs down on boys. And it weighs down on the team. That doesn't sound like extracurriculum to me. Now, all of you guys that are saying education is first, man, you guys are bloody liars. And the thing that annoys me so much about this is that you guys that do not like recruiting do not question where that new kid came from who is joining your rugby team. That's the thing that pisses me off so much about this, is that you fellas see a new kid that's on the field and you go, oh shoot, where's that guy from? Oh, he just came from the small town fella. Bro, dude's solid, bro. Solid. And that, cool. Welcome to the school. Oh, wait, hold on. Are you not going to ask how they got there? Hold on, defender of truth and, the heart of our school. All against recruiting and how you got here. Are you not going to go 21 questions this kid and his parents of why he's here? How he got here? Oh, no, he's all right. He's all right. We offer opportunities to kids. It's like, shut up, man. All of you guys that were against me on that, shut up. Honestly, you guys all have the same problem. And I'm not even just talking about the fact that they come to a school. If they come to an area and you're in charge of that area and he's not from your area, you're not questioning how they got him or where they got him from. This is the problem that you guys have in Wellington, and Wellington's one of the biggest problems. And I'm sick and tired of you fellas in Wellington talking about how unfair it is that you guys are losing players when only 3 or 4 schools in your guys' competition really matter every single year. And the worst thing is that the top schools in your area are taking from the smaller schools. But somehow you guys seem to think that it's okay to do that. But if it hurt your team, you'll be like, oh, hold on, you can't do that. Now, there's a bunch of those kids that go to Scots College and into Silverstream and even St. Pat's Town that are all from Porirua. Now, what? Are you guys not going to talk about that? Are you guys not going to say how unfair that is? All you guys who are defenders of truth and coming from an area, coming from a region, but yet all the way up there in Porirua, it's, all these kids are getting, there's like 7, 8 buses where all these kids with different uniforms jump on and they go out of Porirua to go to school. But you seem to complain about recruiting? You fellas from Wellington? Are you serious about that? You think I don't know where these kids are from? This is what I do, man. You don't think I know who these parents are that are getting contacted from the bigger schools to leave their smaller schools? They don't live in the boundaries. Oh, no, but the boundaries are open now that we can give scholarships. Like, hey, that's not the argument. The argument is that you guys have this high pedestal that you fellas are on, talking about it has to be about education first. Oh, we're taking them out of Lower Decile school. Okay, so what about the others come from Low Decile? Oh, but he's good at rugby. It's like, so what? He's in a Low Decile school. He happens to be good at rugby, and his parents don't want him at that Low Decile school. And the worst thing is that you think that this is just a kid's thing. You think that parents of kids can't make decisions for them? Somehow you think this is just a kid thing. That kids are working this out on their own. No kid goes up to their mum and dad and go, oh, I'm going to Palmy next year. Oh, really? Are you? He's like, yeah, I'm going to Palmy. Like, I've already sorted it out. No, what the hell do you guys think this is? It's so stupid to think that you guys who are sitting there going, oh, well, this can't be a kid's thing. It's like, it's not a kid's thing. Kids don't make these decisions. Are you guys that dumb? And the thing is that you think that rugby players are dumb straight off the bat that they want to leave a school. There have been so many kids that have left school for rugby reasons and rugby and gone to rugby schools, but remained high honours. Remained high honours. But you guys don't want to talk about that side of it because in your guys' mind, every rugby player is dumb. So strange to me how some of you guys think this kind of stuff. And you think so low of a rugby player in itself. Now you guys are still stuck in this era of rugby guys are just meathead fellas. It's like, no, they're flipping smart as hell, these kids. You think that all that they've got is rugby on their mind? It's like, no. You guys have always got rugby on their mind for when you guys want them to perform, when you want them to get to training, when you want them to become a part of the leadership squad, when you want them to make sure that they got all their boots and stuff ready, to make sure that they get their work done so they can play. You guys are thinking of them as just rugby players. Only reason why I speak on rugby is because that's what my page is. It's about rugby players, not about education. It's just rugby. Someone else can do an education page. Let them do that. Top 200, smartest kids in New Zealand. Someone do that page. And then you can talk about education over there. I'm just talking about rugby. That's just what my page is. There's just so much things here That's so hypocritical. So hypocritical in the way that you guys seem to think, for some reason, that the school is about education first. When you know it's about sports most of the time. Because when you walk past a kid and you know they're a really good player, you ask about how their game went on Saturday. Don't lie to me and don't think you don't. This could be even under 15s or under 14s. He may be your student and you go, hey, do you fellas win on Saturday? You don't go, hey, the essay was mean, bro. No, you don't ever say that stuff. And any of you teachers that think you are, it's like, shut up, you flipping liars. You do not ever ask how their paper's going, how their project's going, unless it's part of your class and you need them to turn it in. Other than that, how much points you score on Saturday? Just got me a lazy 15 points and 11 rebounds. Cool. Discussion's over. It is all about sports. For the most part, it's about sports. A kid that does not offer anything to a school that's extra, schools are not looking at them. If a kid came to your school and go, hey, I love what you guys stand for, and I really want to be a part of the school. Okay. I just love the way that, the study and what you guys have as classes, options. I've seen, my friends have come here when I went to another school, but then I've just seen the way that they've conducted themselves and I feel like I want to be a part of the school. I say, okay, so do you play any sports? Oh. No? You excel in anything else? No? Okay. Just average, just average kind of marks? I was like, yeah, just average marks, yeah. Nothing exceptional. I was like, okay. Well, I will give you a call. They're not calling those people. You could have low marks. And you go, no, I made reps for like past 3 years. I say, oh, cool, yeah. Well, give us a call on this, and we'll just talk to the coach, and we'll get you a spot in here. Make sure, you got your own rugby boots and stuff. I was like, oh yeah. Those kind of discussions is what people have. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying on these comments. The other thing is some of you players can't stand on that pedestal and talk to me about that, especially if you're on my top 200. You know who I'm talking about too. Bro, do not be on my top 200 knowing that you've switched schools and talk to me about credibility of people switching schools. Bro, that's the wrong person to talk to you about that. Now, my thing is that, like, schools care a lot about sports. And the reason why, and what shows it so much, is that on the news just last night or the night before, they had the rowing coach from the Olympics join a school. Like, and he's on the news for it. Now you're saying that's an educational move? And then for him to be on the news about it? Educational? And the girls' school was the Māori Cup holders from this year, bringing on an Olympic coach. I have a feeling that they like the taste of that winning. And they have a lot of money to bring on somebody who's got the expertise to keep them winning, because that's what makes the school go. That's what lifts up the spirits of this school, is when the rowing team is doing really, really good. I'm not opposed to this. Not at all. I think it's great for the girls. I think it's great for the school, and I think it's great for the sport. But you can't say to me that sports is not an extra curriculum. No. That sounds mainstream to me. That sounds like the purpose that you're there. His purpose there is for good rowers, to tune out good rowers, to teach these girls how to be at that level that they saw him at, coaching these Olympic kids. Now they want him in the school. Now it's not just that school, because look at John McGlashan. Look at Christ College. Look at St. Kennigan's. Look at Hastings Boys. Look at all these schools. Even so much as like Francis Douglas, where they have pro players, ex-pro players, ex-coaches, all coming back to these schools to coach the kids. They may be great teachers, but hey, that's a big carrot for them to be coming into the school and going, hey, I want to help out. It's like, cool. Because I love that you played in Super Rugby, and I love that you played in the All Blacks, and I love that you're this and that coaching. Yeah. That's not extra curriculum then. When the school is doing that, you're purposely bringing them on for those reasons. You've got an extra spot on the staff. You've got a need here somewhere. And then he goes and does his rugby. Then he coaches basketball. Then she's in there for netball. And he's going to take the soccer boys and girls. Then that hockey person's got this. Oh, they just happen to be an ex-New Zealand player or an ex-New Zealand coach, or they just come back from the States and their pro career's over in Turkey, or they've just finished over there in the Netherlands, and all of a sudden someone needs a water polo coach. Oh, we just happen to get, New Zealand's most capped water polo player to be our coach. And it's like, oh, yeah. Just coincidence, right? Come on, man. Stop that. You got to stop this stuff. Stop telling me it's extra curriculum stuff. It's not, and you know that. And then you use those people that you've brought into your school as teachers, as staff, to go make the pitch to these kids to come to your school, or to be on the website, on your school website, going, hey, I'm part of the team here, cricket. Why don't you come over here? And this is extra curriculum? And so strange. It really is so strange that you guys have the stance. And I don't know if it's just people just wanting to complain, but I see some of you school people on there too that know and that have participated in recruiting kids and recruiting people to your school. Having a go at me? Remember, when I first started this, in 2013, I didn't keep a lot of the emails that I was sent. I did not keep a lot of those stuff when I first started. But in 2015, after I saw exactly how this thing worked, exactly how New Zealand Rugby did things, exactly how people from the unions, from each province and each franchise did things, I thought, oh shoot, I better keep some of these emails. Because some of you fellas are getting a bit loose in the way that you're talking about me. Remember, If you've contacted me from 2015 onwards, I got receipts from your school, from your staff, from you. Everything that I do is confidential, but if you push me, I'm going to come for you if you push me. And I'm not just talking about schools. I'm talking about franchises. I'm talking about provinces. I'm talking about scouts. The normal person out there, you guys may not know how much help I get paid for these provinces to work and for recruiting to go to these provinces. And I help out because I know that it helps the kids. And I don't say anything because it helps the kids. Now, I don't mind the average person making comments about me because a lot of times they just don't know. They just read whatever they read on the newspapers and on whatever's found on the Herald or on stuff or whatever. And then they make up their conclusions from there and they go, well, it feels like this is the way it is. That's fine for the average person. But if I see people from the schools and from the unions and from the franchises speaking like that to me, and they know what they have done in the past, it's going to annoy me. And remember, I'm not governed by anybody. This is just me just doing what I'm doing for the love of the kids. And how much kids I've helped out get from one union to another union, from one province to another province, from one school to another school, from rugby union to NRL. That's why I do this. To help those kids. What you guys are saying is that this kid he shouldn't move. He shouldn't move. Like, what he chose to do in year 9 should stay to this day. You just got to bite the bullet on that. I don't care if your coach is a dick, if the people around you are bad influences, if the school doesn't work for you because they don't offer these classes that you enjoy. Hey, stay where you are. That's what you chose in year 9. Stay there. That's pretty much what you guys are saying. That whatever choice they made in year 9, they have to stick with it. Because from your point of view, it's immoral to move anyway. At any point and in any reason, it's immoral to move because from year 9, you should have made the right decision from then. Have you seen how some of these country schools are? Where schools can't offer them. It's not that they don't want to. They can't offer them different classes. They can't offer them different stuff. They just don't have the money and budget to do it. So there's some of those country schools, kids want to get out of those schools. Because they don't have stuff for them. Then they see their mates that they went to intermediate with at another school and they're like, oh man, these fellas get to do that and go there? Yeah, why wouldn't you move? If the environment in that school is not good for your kid, you're telling them to stay? Recruiting is not just about the sport. The sport sometimes is just the avenue to get them out of there. That's a shortcut to getting them out before it's too late. Now, if you think that I'm wrong, you guys better get in touch with a bunch of these Northland people. They have a lot of problems in that stuff. Because I get emails from parents every week about, me helping them out because they don't want their kids going down these same bad roads that they've already seen their friends going down. Look at all these schools that have a bunch of Northland kids in the North Harbour Comp as well as in the Auckland and the 1A. Heaps of Northland kids. It's not coincidence that they're all out of there for rugby. It's like, no, they could play rugby pretty good, but the parents are like, oh, let's use this to get them out because I don't want my son here. Same with these rural places. Same as these decile schools sometimes in South Auckland where some parents are just like, oh man, I've got to get my kid out of there. Sometimes, starting getting into fighting, starting getting into this and hanging around bad crowds. It's like, yeah, use that rugby to get them out. And there's been some kids that have gotten out of South Auckland that were leading down a bad way and when they moved, they changed. It changed them. Their mindsets were different. The way that they viewed things were different. But you're saying, no, stay there in year 9 because you guys should have made the right decision when you were in year 9. Then you're saying, well, if you wanna move your kid, how about your whole family moves? So that we can just justify the reason why he's going or why he's changing schools. It's like, why do they have to do that when they have an option of moving into a boarding school or a private school? But just to make sure that your conscience is great with that idea and that you feel it's fair, that they do it this way just so that you're all right with it. Some of you guys out there, your views on why someone does something always has to be something that's so negative. Some people are in bad places that they just don't want to be anymore. Some people that go to a good school, live in a bad area, their parents want to get them out of that area. Not that school necessarily, but that school's too close. If they get them out of that area, they don't have to live in that area. Sometimes it's not just about school. It's not even just about sports. It's about the living environment, changing that cycle. One show that I love watching right now is that Barbers one. Pauletti's done. Ollie is such an inspirational guy, and what he's tried to do to change the cycle of how he used to be. Now he represents Flaxmere. And the way that he stands up and represents himself and is learning on the way, and you can see sort of the things that are coming to realization, is that the way that he's learning is the way that we all should be learning. We have our places that we live and our environments that we're in, but it doesn't mean we have to stay there. Brown people, we're trying to change that. There's so many more brown kids going to universities now. Even when I was at school in the year 2000, there wasn't a lot of brown islanders and Māoris going to university. Now there's heaps of them because the mindset from my generation has kind of changed now. It's like, no, let's get educated. Now, that has to continue, and that has to continue on with this generation. And if rugby is the way that you're able to change that, then why not? The only thing is that you're sitting there going, oh, this is unfair. It's like, for one, you don't have kids that play rugby. You don't have a kid that's getting recruited and that's good at rugby or that's good at any other sport. But you're just on the sideline, you thought, oh, here's a comment that I want to make a comment on just so I can feel cool about myself. How about you just shut the F up forever because you have no kind of influence in this? Just because you want to say something? It's like, oh, are you in education as well? Oh, no, I'm not in education. I just don't think it's... Oh, well, shut up then. What are you talking about? You don't know anything about this. You don't talk to parents about how the struggles that their kids are going through. And how important it is for their kid to feel some kind of success in getting a scholarship. You know how good a scholarship feels? Do you know how good that feels and how much of a morale and emotional boost it is for your son or your daughter to get a scholarship to a school? And it doesn't even matter what school, just a scholarship. Just the achievement of getting that changes a lot of these kids. Oh, no, but they need to stay there from year 9. Because that's what they chose. You idiots. That is not even what's going on. Recruiting has got nothing to do with the fall of rugby. The fall of rugby comes from the fact that our world is bigger because we've got the internet. Go have a look at all the things that these kids can study and these kids can participate in school, and have a look at your yearbook or like when you're at school and see if they offer these same kind of things. They don't, man. The world is a bit more open now that we have the internet. Kids have other interests. It's got nothing to do with rugby anymore. Kids just don't want to play rugby. Some kids just like, I just don't want to do anything, to be honest. I just want to play my games. I want to be esports. I want to be an influencer. I want to be on TikTok. I want to be like a YouTube star. It's like, I want to do science in the back and make videos about it. That's taking them away from cricket. It's taking them away from basketball. It's taking them away from rugby. It's taking them away from netball. It's got nothing to do with the fact that people are recruiting. Not at all. How dumb are you people? Some of you idiots out there are talking about the fall of rugby to recruiting and to professionalism of it. No, you idiots. Because the NBA did not wreck basketball. The NFL did not wreck American football. And this thing called soccer, yeah, it's still bloody strong and the best sport in the world that everybody wants to play. The professionalism side of it did not wreck it. What are you talking about? The way that it was worked in New Zealand is what's wrecked it. Some kids just don't want to play sports anymore. Some kids have had other interests. Some kids have seen something else on YouTube and go, oh, that actually looks like something cool that I want to do. And then rugby gets pushed to the back. That's not their fault. They came out with different interests. Rugby's not in everybody's blood. If somehow AJ Faleofanga goes, man, I'm really into this glass making. I saw it on YouTube and I thought, flop, that's pretty cool and I want to get into that. That's just what he became interested in. If that's what they want to do. We lost a great rugby player. It's like, but that's what he wants to do. That's fine. Rugby league has also blown up in a big way. I remember watching rugby league when pretty much you made up the Kiwis team of about 15 players from that were playing in Australia. Or most of them were all playing in the Warriors, and then we got 5 players from overseas from other clubs, and it was like that was it. Now we got a whole bunch of guys to choose from that are in the NRL and that over in the Super League. Most of them have played rugby too. The thing is that it's like rugby's not everything. It's not everything. It's not in everyone. It's not you should play rugby, and if you don't, what's going on with you? What are you talking about? Look how big basketball is now. The reason why basketball is so big because it's so attractive to watch. Something that New Zealand rugby has not done. And I said I would help out with. But they don't want my help. They still don't even know how to use their own YouTube page to get more kids to watch some kind of rugby. Because those old heads up the top don't even want to talk to their grandkids about, hey, how are you guys doing things? How do you watch your things? How do you want to watch it? Grandson, come here. What are you watching on there? Why is that cool to you? And going to your media department, hey, let's start doing it like this. That's how my grandson does it. He watches it all the time. My grandson watches these 2 boys like screaming at each other, doing stupid stuff. It's like, well, let's try and put that into rugby terms. No, because you guys think that this is like the traditionalist game. It's like, man, shut up, man. What are you talking about? The world is changing. Bloody change along with it, or else we're going to get left behind. We're going to have the greatest talent in the world that stops at high school. Because we're going to lose all our players. They're not going to want to come back here. They're going to see how much money is overseas, and then they're just going to leave. And New Zealand's going to be spitting the same old stuff. It was like, oh, well, if you're not in New Zealand, you can't play for the black jersey. Oh, if you're not in New Zealand, you can't do this. If you're not signed with us, you can't do this. You can't do this. Mate, we're going to lose our players that way. Because you're limiting their opportunity to take care of their family. What are you talking about? It's got nothing to do with recruiting in schools. It's got nothing to do with that. If you think that that's the downfall of rugby in New Zealand, you're an idiot. And the worst thing is that I've read the papers that they read. I read the studies that they read in New Zealand Rugby. It had 2 paragraphs of the new age kid and the internet. 2 paragraphs. Are you serious? 2 paragraphs. Talking about esports and the internet. And social media and how it takes over their life. 2 paragraphs. That's the problem. Now, any of you kids out there that want to study this kind of stuff, do the study again. And make it more based on the fact that social media takes a massive part out of the fact that kids are not playing sports. Sports in general. Not rugby, but just sports in general. A kid will tell you themselves. Now, he was a mean rugby player when we were young. He just doesn't want to do it anymore. That's fine. He just doesn't want to do it anymore. What's wrong with that? Oh, but you can't change schools because at year 9 you guys should have had, you know, enough information to pick the right school when you're in year 9, so you can't move anymore. Yeah. That's what you guys are saying. That's pretty much what you're saying. Is that people looking for a better opportunity to be more successful in life, you're saying that they can't do it because at year 9, you picked a school that just didn't work for you. Which means that you miss out on sometimes better rugby, sometimes better schooling, sometimes better environment, sometimes better social skills, sometimes experiences of being outside of your hood or outside of your environment. You're missing out on all these different things, missing out on meeting different people that don't think the same as you. If you go to a school that's different from you as a person, and you have this open mind to listen to everybody around you, you're going to learn a lot more. You're going to be a better citizen in society and understanding what different things are like. There's so many more opportunities than just rugby when you go to another school, especially when it's outside of your area, which outside of your normal kind of environment that you're in. When you go to these different places, you learn different stuff. You get to meet different people and see how those people live and see what makes them tick and what they're interested in. But if you're staying in your own place and in your own environments that you're used to already, you're not learning about anything different. You're not getting anything extra out of this. But some of you people are just on this buzz of flipping, it's just about rugby. It's not. Parents talk to me all the time. Most of it's not even about rugby. It's just about helping their kid. That's all it really is most of the time. And I'm just here to help with opportunities. I have the information to help people, and you think I'm not going to? Mate, sports is probably the most important thing in every single school. Whatever sport it is. But it's a big morale boost to everybody when you're winning. And when you're successful at what is the identity of your school. Happy school, everybody's happy, everybody's doing better. And school comes into it anyway. But calling it an extra curriculum is not what it is. There's too much time into it. And New Zealand Rugby takes advantage of this too. That's why they have rep teams. That's why they have nationals. That's why they have scouts at schools. What are you talking about? They don't care about... New Zealand Rugby does not come and check up on the grades of that kid. They don't care about that side of it. What the hell are you talking about? They don't care about the education of the kid. They don't look for his marks. Some of you fellas are flipping on one, to be honest. And a lot of you guys don't even know what's going on, but you just feel like you should comment because you're like, well, that just must be how it is. That's the way I see it. Now, a lot of you guys got to look into this. This is just my view of it, and my view because I talk to so many people. I talk to so many parents. I talk to so many coaches and to teachers and to principals and the principal ones are the best ones too. I love the principals that I've talked to over the past because they have kept it real with me. The principals have kept it real. The principals have thanked me for kids that have gone to their school because of how much of the asset they were to the school. Not even about rugby. Just about seeing the change in some of these kids. Seeing how that kid has inspired other kids as well. For some reason, you guys are still on this buzz of they need to be there for rugby. It's so strange. The rugby's just the avenue side of it. And the kids that are moving are not dumb kids. What the hell's your problem? Comment, because I know you guys are. And I know that a lot of you guys are not even going to listen to this with an open mind or even try and understand what I'm going on about. But that's up to you. I don't care. I'm still here for the opportunity to help kids. I'm still here for the opportunity to show them something different, to make things a little bit better. And you can go on about your ways. I don't care. Doesn't really matter to me. We got some rep games coming up. We don't know if New Zealand's in that is going to go through. They said it's cancelled. We'll see what happens with sevens. And if there's sevens on, then I'll see you guys at sevens. Come over, hit me up, have a bit of a chat, have a bit of a talk. I'm always open to talk. I know I look like an angry guy when I'm out there. I'm not actually angry. I'm just kind of thinking about stuff. It's just my face. I just have angry face all the time. For some reason, my brothers and sisters tell me about it all the time as well, my wife. But I'm always open to talk. I am. I'm always open to talk and hear different ideas and things like that too. So hit me up. High School Top 200, Herschel. Peace.